scrum half. Oh, there's so many scrum halves. And interesting, there are a couple of scrum half / fly half players, and we sort of have to decide where to put them. But there are a lot of players who say they can play scrum half in this league. And I have to say, in looking at a bunch of highlight videos, that they got to pass better. Because on the professional level, if you have a loopy pass and it takes you 3/4 of a second to pick the ball up and then get it out, that's not going to be good enough. Having said that, there are some very good players at scrum half that we want to think about. I want to talk about 4 of them. Ken Kurihara from Cal, another overseas player, but probably the best scrum half in this group, can do it all. So worth a look. Carmen Consolino lists themselves as fly half first, but he's been scrum half a good portion of his career. He's not a big guy, and I think he and the next guy I want to talk about, Nick D'Angelo, would do well to say, "Hey, I'm a scrum half / fly half," because that can actually be very useful to have that versatility. Because you think about that, and then you say, it's not too much of a stretch to put the guy at fullback as well. Now you've got one of your 2 guys on the bench as a back is somebody who could play 3 positions, including some specialist positions. It's not a bad thing to do. Consolino out of Wisconsin is actually a pretty good player and has been a good player for a while. D'Angelo, who's originally North Wales, foreigner issues, so we'll talk about that. And then my sort of dark horse, and I doubt he's going to be drafted. I'd like to see a team sign him. Brendan Urbanski from Central Michigan is a Division II team. And sometimes you just get an idea of a player and say he has the will. He has the desire. He really wants to work at it. And it's not his fault that he ends up playing D2 ball. I think Urbanski is one of those guys. You look around and say, here's somebody nobody knows about, and maybe we can sign him as a free agent. That's the guy. All right, so on to fly half, and this is amusing to me in a way because fly half has got to be the toughest position in which a rookie can break into a Major League Rugby team, and yet we've got a bunch of people saying that that's the position that they want to play. But are we seeing teams take a risk on a 22-year-old just out of college starting fly half? No, we're not. They're hiring 35-year-olds. 39-year-olds. So that's the way that Major League Rugby teams are going. So you got to keep that in mind as we look at some of these players. There are some good players. And we talked a little bit about the flexibility that D'Angelo and Consolino could offer. Got to keep that in mind. Logan Martin-Feet from University of Victoria. 6'1", very quick, very smart player. Been through a lot of the Canadian age grade systems, and at 23 he's got a few years behind him, which is good, and I think would be a really nice pickup for Toronto. Might be a good pickup for some other teams as well. Case Fleck, MVP of the Big Ten, can play inside center as well. Could probably play a little fullback, so would be a good player to think about that way. A player who has really been like a classic number 10 is Colson Warner, who was at Lindenwood Belleville, and when that program imploded, he moved over to Lindenwood in St. Charles, Missouri, the Lindenwood University, and got a lot of playing time there and did very, very well. And it was amusing at one point, just some of the comments made when they picked the MVP for the CRC, and it wasn't Colson Warner, but Warner can play, and I think really a classic number 10. And if you are in a mind of saying, let's get an American number 10, let's do the whole third quarterback clipboard thing and give him some time to really just take that game, that position, and make it his own, you could do worse. And there's one other player who might get a look at fly half, Jacob Sunday from Iowa State. He has been showing well and getting some interest, I think. But the thing about him is he's kind of a lanky, rangy kind of runner, and definitely someone I would look at and say, maybe not number 10 right now, but how about fullback? Inside center and outside center is, we're going to talk about them separately because players did declare themselves, I'm an inside center, an outside center. It's a little bit weird because I guess you've got to pick one primary position when you declare for the draft, but there are players who are there are players that are flankers who could possibly be an inside center. There are players who are fly half who would be better off saying that they're fly half / fullback / center, things like that. The number one guy here is Tavita Lepetti out of St. Mary's, an inside center. Probably the best back in the draft, especially if you take into account domesticity. I think if there's a player, there's one other player I'm thinking might go really early, but if there's a back that goes early, I would say it's Lepetti. He can tackle, he can run really well, he can direct traffic. He could step into a pro team right now. At outside center, we see a bunch of players who've made a name for themselves in the collegiate game. Labi Pakoy-Larbi from Penn State is certainly one of those. Calvin Gentry, who was a big star for the USA Rugby South as an under-19, hopped between a couple of collegiate programs, but really has the goods to do well. Kyler McCorkindale, Mount St. Mary's, is a versatile guy. 13, 11, 15. He could probably cover all of those. And then a slightly different player, Palina Roberts, Nike Roberts, also known as, that's sort of his nickname, from Life University, and was kind of a shifty, little scrappy guy early on. And if you see him in the D1A finals, that's what you think of him. But actually, he's put on a lot of size and strength and then grown a couple of inches as well. And as a result, he's like, whoa, okay, all right, I see you as a center now. Still got a great shifty sidestep. All right, so now we come down to wing, and I'm actually going to make it wing and fullback because there's not a lot of wings, and it's difficult to be a wing in college rugby and then say that you're ready for professional rugby, because if you're a wing in college rugby, first of all, you've got a lot of speed, and you're looking for wide open spaces where you can exploit your speed and the space. Doesn't happen so much in professional rugby, does it? What we're seeing is players who have to be able they have speed, and they have to be able to unleash that speed, but they also have to be able to work in traffic a lot and break through tackles a lot. So there's one player I think sort of impressed me as that kind of player on the wing, and that's University of Ottawa's James Fleming. And I think that with his size, he's over 6 feet tall, he's over 200 pounds. He's the sort of player that you can say, all right, I can envision you being a professional wing. Kyle Hodgson from Lindenwood, another player, foreign issue again, but he has the ability. He actually played a lot of center as well for Lindenwood, and that often is something that can sort of make you look up and say, okay. So he's used to breaking tackles and being tackled and having to tackle people. All those things, those are important. And then Michigan State Sammy Shelbaya is a player who is basically their top scorer. He's able to play a 13 as well. Again, his hometown is Dubai, so the foreign issue looms as always. And if you look at fullback, George Phelan, that's the other player I was talking about. Somebody who's, let's say, if they're a back that could go early, George Phelan could. Really one of the best backs in collegiate rugby last couple of years. Can play 15, can play center, can play wing. Probably could slot in at number 10 if he had a mind to. Foreign, unfortunately, makes it difficult for him. So that's why I would put Lepetti at that higher list there. And the thing is, you look at your Connor Burns is in that list. And Elisa Mateto, also foreign, also an issue.
All right, we come down to 4 players who are domestic players who could play wing and fullback, who I think have the potential perhaps to break through, get a signing, whether they get drafted or as a free agent. And they are Aaron Gray, Eric Naposki, Dominic Iacovino, and Caleb Strum. And of these, I think Gray is perhaps the most explosive and the most exciting offensively, and the player who really has had a little bit more exposure, at least in sevens, at a high level that might be able to turn a few heads. And I think also he has the physicality and the athleticism maybe to make a splash in professional rugby.
Iacovino, very elusive, powerful, pretty good combination of things. Can play fullback, can play wing. Naposki, hugely elusive, has put on some bulk of late, which is good because he was kind of small. And I guess I'm worried a little bit about size, but got to check their kicks. If his kick is good, that would be fine. Caleb Strum, I think, from University of Alabama, despite the fact that I just dissed the SCRC a little bit earlier talking about Campbell Robinson, I think that Strum probably has the goods to do the job. I think he has the desire, and it would be a very interesting signing. Third round, stuff like that. So, those are the players that I look at and say 60-odd players of those, 36 are going to be drafted. Maybe there's somebody from the group that I didn't talk about who will be drafted. But remember that just because it was all working for you in college doesn't mean it all fits correctly for you in the professional game. And remember also, the foreign issue is coloring our decisions a little bit in terms of who might be drafted, who might not be. That doesn't mean we don't think they should be on the team. Doesn't mean we think a foreign player isn't as good. They may be the best one. But it's just difficult if you've got those limited slots to try and find. You really have to elevate your game. And there are players who are capable of that. So, next couple of episodes, we're going to be talking about exactly who I think might be a good fit in the draft. But until then, thank you for watching, and thank you for your support. If you want to go to golfrugbyreport.com/support-GRR, you can learn about how to support what we're doing, and any support is greatly appreciated. And we'll see you next time on the Golf Rugby Report Major League Rugby Draft Show.